very proud of my son Leland because last time this guy left me in the dust, I knew he would not outrun Leland.
Alright, I'm back. I'm gonna make some more dolls like these dolls in real life. Everything to make these dolls.
Thank you for this day. Thank you for the bus. Thank you again for Leland. And bless his mates. Don't let us think so bad. Thank you for the whole crew. In Jesus' name, amen.
So listen, about the big dent in your car?
Oh, no.
I'm really sorry. But Leland was screaming and I could hear him. And I just slammed it. Sorry. All right here and all right there.
Whatever.
I think the one thing that I wish I'd known before starting therapy was I could benefit from it sooner.
See my dollies.
Everyone disappear. But me know you.
Maybe Civilization is one of the greatest zombie films of all time. And we're not talking about George Romero's Day of the Dead, though some will argue that particular sequel deserves to be in the conversation as well. Instead, we're talking about Dan O'Bannon's punk rock horror comedy, Return of the Living Dead, which introduced the world to speedy, brain-craving zombies, who also have a thing or two to say when they're feeling chatty. The movie was by no means a blockbuster, but it did very respectable business, making around $30 million worldwide off of a very naturally, a follow-up would be necessary in the eyes of that film's producer, Tom Fox, who assumed the Living Dead title was due for the franchise treatment.
This is the big one right there.
It would take 3 years, but we did eventually get a
And
new
this
Return
one's
of the Living
kind
Dead,
of a
which brought along
favorite.
some old faces to mix in with the new. But living up to the greatness of the first film would be no easy feat. And as it would turn out, this movie was much more of a slog to make than its predecessor. If you're ready to party one more time, grab a bowl of brains and find out just what happened to Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Pardon me, but can you tell me who the President of the United States is?
Harry.
Alright, so when we get to this point, and as you can see my cardboard's kind of not cooperating, but that's okay. It looks pretty thick, you can kind of see here. I'm not sure exactly how many times I spun it around. You can kind of determine how thick you'd like it. Might take a little trial and error, but that to me looks like it's probably going to make a pretty nice yarn doll. So then what I like to do is, so you're going to cut the end of this, just like that. These are really hard to mess up. And I like to say, the little tweaks or little, interesting characteristics of these things where you might mess up a little bit, I think it adds to the uniqueness of the doll. So after this, what you're going to do is you're going to cut, I like to be, on the safe side, I like to do it a little bit longer. I do like to double string this part because this part's very important. So, just a double string portion of the same color. So then it really doesn't matter what side you use, just make sure you unhook where that little slit was, the yarn. Then slip your hand underneath like this, and then just slide it off. Okay, so now we got this big pool of yarn, a big thing of yarn. So you take this, slip it through the top, just through the middle where the cardboard was. Just like that, kind of shake it a little bit, and you just tie the top very tightly, just like that. You can see. And I usually get it as tight as I can without breaking the yarn. Be careful not to break the yarn. And double knot it on the top. Might even want to triple knot it. Alright, so there we go. we got this thing started. All right, so now you're gonna want to take the same color yarn that you had before, and you're gonna want to cut, just some pieces, longer pieces, to aid us with the tying. So take 2 pieces of yarn.
Yes, I do. And
Great. And then you're gonna kind of get to the point where you got like a nice shape.
I just tell them
And mess with it a little bit.
I don't have a website.
Yeah.
I think you just have to
There
like
we go. So that.
message me or something like that.
Then you're just gonna tie around it.
Yeah, these are really
And after you tie it once, you can always double tie anything by just flipping it up around the other side. Tie it again just to make it more secure. So,
how can I
that's what we got so
respond
far.
there?
So then you take your scissors and you just cut the bottom. This part doesn't have to be perfect. You end up doing a lot of trimming at the end of this. Or run your fingers through it, see if you missed any. You got one right there. Just cut the...
This is my favorite right here. That's why
So now what we're going to
I
want to
got
do
a lot of them.
is take about
Really
say,
wow.
that much yarn, maybe like a little less than a fourth of the yarn, maybe like a sixth of the yarn on each side. Just kind of grab, try to grab kind of a comparable amount.
Place is going sorry.
So these are going to be the arms. Alright, so then what I usually do is I usually just tie them. So when we get to this point, we have the doll with the 2 arms kind of separated like that, right? That way just, keeps them separated. So then what you want to do is I actually usually take the doll and the arms. We haven't actually finished the arms yet, but I just hold it up like this, shake it out a little bit, and then I determine how big I want the body to be. I usually don't have the body be that big, not like that, and the rest of it's going to be legs. So then what you do is you take another piece of yarn. I usually do a double for this as well. These are kind of those big areas, right? And then you just tie it off. Just double knot it. Get it tight. Once again, don't break the string, but get it tight, nice and tight. And then I usually will double it. See, there we go. Alright, so now we're going to do the same thing we did with the arms that we're going to do with the legs. And actually, you just separate the legs in half. So, just right about halfway point, like that. And I've run out of string, so you're going to probably need more of the string. More than just 10 pieces. Alright, so when we get to this point, we're actually going to take the tie off of one of the arms. So we're going to braid both the arms. And yeah, you just braid it. Normal braid. So when you get to this point, you're going to want to make sure that the arms are just relatively the same size. Like this one's getting close. Alright, so there you go. Got the arms going so far. So what I usually do then is I usually just trim the ends. So now we're going to do the legs. And some people like to braid the legs. I tie the legs. Just makes them a little bit longer, a little different. So I will show you how I do that. So now we're just going to take one of these off. Alright? And so what I do with the legs, and actually I'll show you an example up close on the other one, is actually just go down the leg and I just tie off sections. You can do as many as you want, or as few as you want. Or you can braid the legs. But I'm going to tie them. Here we go. So at this point we have the arms braided, the legs done. We just have to trim up the legs a little bit. and then we'll go on to the next stage. Alright, so for the next stage, we're going to select a color for the top. As you can see on here, I pick two colors usually, one for the top, one for the skirt. So for this one, I think I'm going to do this color for the top. So for this, what you do is I usually take the doll, and I usually just tie a knot around just the bottom of the neck. Right? And actually, if you do it tight, it just helps secure the yarn even more. So, just like this. And at this point, really, you can trim this up so it's not really in the way as much. I just make it long because it just seems to be easier when we're doing that process. So just cut that like that. Alright, so then I just take this, and I'm just going to hold her upside down so you can kind of see it, and I just start winding around the body. And I try to wind in that little loose piece too. And I do it a little bit tighter around the body, just because it ends up making that portion a little bit more firm in the doll. And when you're doing this too, just kind of flip the doll around and see where there's empty spots, and just kind of fill those spots in. And I kind of, if you can see, I'm crisscrossing over and under the arms. You don't have to do it any perfect way or anything, but it kind of just makes it look like she's wearing a shirt. When you're done, you just want to cut about that much off and just tie it at the bottom. And to do that, if I just tie it like that, it'll unravel. I kind of just go around it once and through like that, and just pull it tight. I just do that a couple times to secure it. Tight, and then I usually do then just put like a little knot that'll just get down there. Now, if I was making a boy doll, you would just do the same thing with the pants and wind, and you could actually just wind this string into it and just wind if you want them on shorts, or you want to go all the way down, or you want to do pants, and that's how you do that. For this one, we're going to do a girl, so I'm gonna cut this one. You can also leave it if you're planning on doing the same color for the skirt. Alright, so now we're going to pick the color for the skirt, and I'm going to use this one. So for the skirt, we're actually going to set the doll aside for a second, and we're going to grab that 4.5-inch piece of cardboard. And once again, you're going to slit just a little cut on the top to secure the yarn. And wind it around just like you did with the other one. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. You can see, I got quite a bit of yarn there. Once again, this as thick as you want the skirt, as thin as you want the skirt. You really can't do this part wrong. So you just cut the bottom again. And once again, I usually double up this portion, especially when you're using this seems to be a little bit more confined to yarn. If you got a really thick yarn, you can do just one. And just about that, and then just cut it. We're going to do the same thing we did before, where we just slide it off. Okay, so then with this one, you're just going to take this and run it through the middle again, just like we did with the other one. Just like that. Great. And so for this one, though, we do not tie the top. What you're going to do is you're going to hold it just like that, untied. We're going to cut this open. Just kind of trim that a little bit. Alright, so now you want to be really careful with this because it's not tied. So just kind of have it like this. So then, you take your doll. I'm going to do this up close as possible as I can. And so you bring it up against the doll's body. And you have both of these strings, right? Like this. So it kind of wraps, the strings wrapped around the body. And then before you tie it, before you secure it, you just kind of shift these pieces around the back. So just hold this like this. Make sure it's at least relatively tight. Just kind of You know, shift those around.
bags.
So you can see I'm just kind of shifting it around. Okay. So when you're satisfied with how even it is, and you just lay the doll flat, so you still got those two pieces, you just lay the doll flat like this. And this you want to make sure is as tight as possible because you don't want these strands coming out. Once again, don't break the string. Then you can see it's kind of uneven on the bottom, so then you just go around and trim it. So there we go. We got our doll so far, now we get to do the hair. Alright, so for the hair I decided to go fun and do like multicolored yarn. And so for this one too, I'm also going to use that 4.5 inch piece of cardboard.
Yeah, right.
And just put it in the slit. Go. Alright, so once we get, just a decent amount of hair on there, you're going to do the same thing where you just kind of unhook it, lay it down. I always do double for this one too. I like to cut it a little longer just because it's easier to do this next part. So once again, you're going to take it and you're going to slide it off. You're going to slide it through. And this time you do tie it. Tie it tight. Okay. So now we have this like ball of yarn. You can either cut it now or you can wait to cut it until after it's secured on her head. I'm gonna probably wait. It seems to be a little easier. So then what you want to do is where you have the top right here. You're gonna kind of just put your finger through there and just kind of create like a little hole on the top of her head. Okay, and then you're gonna bring this through. Just one side of it. So like this. See, I got my hands like this. So I'm gonna push it through. Okay. And then at this point, now that we don't really need this to find the knot on the top, I usually cut these. Okay. So now I got those two pieces right here. And then I just kind of position it on the top of the head, and then I just tie it real tight. You can actually leave these on. Now we got that. So then what you want to do is you want to just come in and you want to cut it. And go ahead and trim it. So at this point, you can leave her hair like this. You can braid it and tie it. Like this one, I took the hair and then I braided it and then I tied it. So for this one, I actually think I'm going to leave it because I kind of like it like that. You can see the hair's got all those pretty different colors. But what you want to do is you just want to make sure that it's even. Yeah, there you go. So this is how you make them. And you can do any color. You can do boy or girl. You can braid, you can not braid, you can just kind of play with it, and it's a lot of fun. I really find that this is an amazing way to bless the kids that are getting the boxes. It takes about a half hour to an hour to make these. You can have fun with them, you can make them however you want. You pray over them, you bless them. You just ask in Jesus' name that the kids that receive them would be blessed by them and that they would just be overcome by His presence and His love. God bless you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out our Kingdom Keys website if you want more information about our company. But otherwise, just be blessed and make some dolls.
Gotta make this bitch some hair. Make this bitch some hair. He's like, well, what? I took care of the way, y'all. I don't give a fuck. good, y'all. Liking it, liking it, liking it, liking it, liking it. It's getting meaty.
With our plans at Car Shield, we have a limited amount that we can visit our grandkids anytime we want to. If something happens, the Car Shield administrator will be there to take care of it. Car Shield initiatives cover extensive repairs, so I don't have to. Protect your
All right.
vehicle and yourself from this.
So far, so good.
Car Shield, the nation's most trusted auto protection company. Car Shield has helped people save thousands of dollars in repairs on their engines, transmissions, air conditioning, electronics, and so much more. They can stop with another expensive repair bill. All Car Shield down.
clues. I don't know. Clues. Give you of love. Oh well. All right. This is coming together, y'all. Coming together. Together. Thank you. Shit on me, y'all. I think it's ready. I got you, we go. I'm civil, I'm kind.
My guest today has been revealing secrets to the ones they love. And now, Brianna, you are ready now to tell the man that you love that you are in fact a free transsexual. Okay, let's find out what the actual deal is here.
I have tried everything for my acne. Sound familiar? Over the counter, natural remedies, you name it, I tried it. Nothing worked. Sam Houston? Check.
The President of the United States is
Harry Truman.
Who's Sam Truman?
As mentioned, producer Tom Fox was eager to capitalize off of the success of the first Return of the Living Dead, which was a hit overseas, especially in Japan. He decided to finance the sequel himself, figuring he couldn't miss if the budget was under $10 million, and he hired the right people to bring the dead to life. Original writer and director Dan O'Bannon was not interested in coming back to this world, but gave his blessing for a sequel to be made without him, so Fox would have to seek out new blood. Oddly enough, two of the original film stars, Don Calfa and James Karen, had taken it upon themselves to write their own screenplays for the sequel. Sadly for them, though, Fox wasn't interested in either of their takes. Around this time, a fellow named Ken Widerhorn was attempting to break out of a rut. He'd been struggling with the label of a horror film director after making two moderately successful thrillers, 1977's Nazi zombie nightmare, Shockwaves, and the 1981 slasher, Eyes of a Stranger. His most recent film at the time had been Meatballs 2, though it was filmed under a different title and turned into a Meatballs movie by the distributor. Ken was taking a writing class, hoping to up his screenwriting game under the tutelage of the legendary screenwriting professor, Robert McKee. Though he was trying to get away from horror films, Widerhorn ended up writing a comedic script that featured zombies. Soon after he was finished, the script ended up on Tom Fox's desk. Fox saw an opportunity to take Widerhorn's original script, change a few things around, and turn it into a Return of the Living Dead sequel. Though he was supposedly not even impressed by his own script, Widerhorn agreed to direct under the stipulation that the movie leaned more on the comedy side of things. Fox agreed because part of the first movie's charm was its morbid sense of humor, so he allowed his new director to go a little broader with the humor. Ken's vision for the film was so far left of horror that he even referred to his new movie as being the Police Academy of horror movies. That could have been one of the first signs that things were not going to work out quite as well as they did with the first film. While the movie wouldn't exactly be a direct sequel to the first outing, Ken wanted it to have some kind of connective tissue to it, so he suggested bringing back a large chunk of the original film's cast. James Karen, despite not having his script agreed to, was down to return because he was friends with Tom Fox. Karen didn't much like the new script, but figured collaborating with the same cast from the first film would make for a fun experience. However, Tom Matthews was less enthused about returning. In fact, he told Fangoria in an interview for Friday the 13th Part 6 that if there were to be a Return of the Living Dead sequel, he would not be a part of it. Eventually, Matthews did come aboard because, unlike some of the other participants, he warmed to the idea of making it a more humorous affair. Additionally, he and James Karen had struck up a genuine friendship on the first one, and the opportunity to do their shtick again appealed to both men. But the plan to bring back the rest of the original cast fell through. Beverly Randolph, who played final girl Tina in the first one, was under the impression that she was going to be asked back with a sequel, but was surprised to see it announced in the trades without so much as a phone call. Similarly, Don Calfa, who portrayed Ernie the Mortician in the original film, had to audition for a role in the sequel, and didn't get it. Clu Gulager, who played Bert in the first one, was never even asked back, because he didn't get along with anyone on set the first time around. The sequel was given a budget of $6.2 million, more money than they had for the O'Bannon picture. Returning to do the makeup effects would be Kenny Myers, who worked on the first Living Dead under strenuous conditions because he had to replace the original artist hired. While Myers wasn't in love with the new script either, thinking it was too silly, he appreciated that he had more time and money to work with, and eventually employed up to 30 makeup artists to work on the copious amounts of zombies, most of which were portrayed by Los Angeles locals. There would be about 6 main zombie actors, including Brian Peck, who featured in the first film. Including Brian Peck, who featured in the first film. And these performers played multiple ghouls throughout the picture in an effort to save money on casting. Also not a fan of the sequel screenplay. Boy, those are really piling up, aren't they? Was the first film's production designer, William Stout. He detested the script so much that not only did he refuse to be a part of it, but he banned the film from using any of his original designs, including the infamous Tar Man, who would return for just a cameo in the sequel. The Tar Man would once again be played by actor Alan Troutman, although the design was significantly changed as to not replicate the one that we all know and love. Return of the Living Dead Part 2 was not an easy movie to make. Things got off to a rocky start when producer Tom Fox casually announced in an interview with Variety that the movie was going to be a non-union show, which naturally led to picketing outside of filming locations from pissed-off union members, disrupting shooting for days. Though that was eventually sorted out, the movie was further plagued by bad weather. They were shooting in the winter, so even in LA, it got pretty cold at night. And to add insult to injury, it was unusually rainy and windy, making conditions rather uncomfortable for all involved. Things were so bad for a while that Widerhorn joked to Fangoria that he regretted writing night exterior at the beginning of nearly every scene heading. And if you listen to the audio commentary, he admits that he couldn't wait for production to end. Furthermore, he ultimately felt that he couldn't get along with the actors because he was too immersed in the film's effects, not to mention the time constraints that they were all under. Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our Joe Blow channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some. Further complicating matters was the fact that one of the film's leads was a 12-year-old kid, Michael Kenworthy, who was cast in the role of Jesse after a nationwide search for the actor, was only allowed to film for 4 hours a day because of child labor rules. Since he's in a large bulk of the movie, the filmmakers had to rush to shoot all of his scenes at the beginning of the night because he had to leave at around 10 p.m. This made scheduling the film extremely difficult, and because he was somewhat new to the business, Kenworthy supposedly had trouble hitting his marks and following direction, which put them even further behind schedule. In short, the actors were not having a good time. In a documentary made years later, Don Calfa related that he'd received phone calls from both James Cameron and Tom Matthews telling him that he'd been lucky to miss out on the sequel, that they were miserable and unsatisfied with what they were making. What became clear to many on set was that their director had an almost dismissive attitude toward his own material and the horror genre as a whole. A rift grew between the director and his cast as his ambivalence rubbed people the wrong way. Tom Matthews would quip years later that his favorite part of making Part 2 was the craft service table, which was supposedly one of the only improvements that the sequel offered. Eventually, Widerhorn even fell out with the producers as well. Without the director's knowledge, Tom Fox had gone ahead and hired a composer to score the movie. Once Widerhorn found out and heard the score, he refused to use it and phoned the production company, Lorimar Pictures, in an effort to persuade them to tell Fox that the score was unusable. The head of the studio agreed, and Widerhorn was able to throw out the unwanted music and bring aboard his own composer. After post-production, Lorimar Pictures tested the film quite a bit, supposedly in an effort to find out just how to market it. Living Dead 2 was their first horror film, and the company was unsure how to sell their slapsticky zombie comedy to the public.
My friend recently asked me for some money, and I was like, why aren't you using Empower? When I need cash and my paycheck is gone, I just use Empower, and you should too. They can send you up to $300
Yeah.
so you and your friends can enjoy the
Getting tired. I'm getting tired.
Plus, with no late fees, no interest,
I'm doing good.
credit checks, it's stress-free, and my payment is scheduled for my next payday, so I don't have to worry about keeping track. And because I always look at reviews, they're a top-rated app with over 300,000 five-star reviews. So if you need instant cash just like us, download Empower today and get a free for cash advance. Now, stop worrying because Empower has your back.
Santa Claus, it's a holiday hoedown. I have big Christmas surprise. And even Santa's crashing the party.
That's why I don't trust trees.
Don't miss SpongeBob and Sandy's Country Christmas. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Perhaps surprisingly to some of its detractors, the film supposedly tested fairly well, actually better than Widerhorn thought that it would. Opting to sell it to the loyal horror crowd, Lorimar's trailers downplayed the comedy in favor of making the movie look like a straightforward zombie thriller. Deceptive marketing at its finest. If nothing else, the movie's poster is still memorably chilling, if not a little reminiscent of the poster for Fright Night, which came out 3 years earlier. Return of the Living Dead Part 2 was released on January 15th, 1988. It opened in 5th place with $3 million, on its way to an early grave to the tune of $9 million domestic. Tom Fox was not going to have his version of the Friday the 13th franchise after all, and he eventually sold the Living Dead rights to Trimark, which would go on to make a third film in the series 5 years later. Although that one jettisoned the comedy and familiar faces altogether for a darker, scarier zombie tale. Return of the Living Dead 2 isn't close to being in the same league as its predecessor, but it does have its champions, people who appreciate its goofy hijinks and the tenuous homages to the first film. If nothing else, some of us have a lingering sense of nostalgia for it because of its generous presence on cable TV back in the late 80s and early 90s. And one has to admit that the actors look like they're having fun, even if they weren't. It'll never be mistaken for a masterpiece, but its lack of brains might just be what keeps us talking about it to this day.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. Joe Blow remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.
Don't know if you need Robitussin for your cough, Advil for your aches, or Theraflu for, well, all the things. Good news, you can choose when they get here. Get relief delivered right to your door with DoorDash.
Whether you're newly eligible.
Premium comfort that keeps up with anything. Without costumes, everything. Find so organic. Flex with it. Exclusively at Kohl's.
They pay us to help you. Wall State has had the e-health experience. Would you say you found your Medicare match?
Yes, I did. It was Shannon's experience.
It's the first ever.
Surprise for you. Yeah, come on now. Oh my goodness. What did you like to see face to face?
Y'all, this took forever. I like it though. I like it though.
Or get started on your own at e-health.com. Either way, it's always a great
It's so loud.
Medicare match today. E-health, like you both did.
It's so perfect.
How much coverage you could get. Maybe excluded costs, side by side.
Now that you know that it's a free service, email is just, I think, the best. Call 1-800-718-9485 to compare Medicare plans in your area or visit eHealth.com.
Your Medicare match.
Goldfish Casino example, when a adverse feeling affects another, that is to say, when this significant other in our life might behave differently or take another course of action, he or she knew what we were hiding. Typically, we all have the right to make choices about our lives, our lifestyle, as well as our sexuality. And though there's no obligation to share that with the outside world, if you choose to share your life with someone else, that person does have the right to make a choice as well. And as such, is entitled to all the information about yourself and that he or she is entitled to what is being bothered, is being ignored, and he or she. So that's time to do so. And return.
There you go.
So this woman that you're cheating on or cheating with is her best friend. Why would you do that? It sounds about my planning on. It just kind of happened one night, and Kristen, she sleeps all day. She works at night, and I work at night also, but I also have to do during the day. So it just happened. Got my passion fell over it. Boom. The next thing, your pants were off, and you're making love to her. When you woke up the next morning, did you say, "Oh, this is awful. We can't do this anymore"? They kept on back to it. Yeah, I've gone back to it a bunch of times. I told her about this one year, What is it, just an exercise? Join the gym? I mean, so you were like, you lose your girlfriend over this one? Yeah, probably. But you would still like to be with her. Yeah. Would you go to the stop and see this other one with your best friend? Yeah. What is your best friend? So best friend, well, first you're gonna have to tell your girlfriend now that you're cheating on her. She's here, so
That's my contact info.
remember, she loves
I forgot I was even on live. This is my baby. My baby. She is crazy. Oh. Hey. A little short. Mama, that bro. I'm getting orders by the banana, y'all. I'm in love with y'all. I can't play no music. I can't play nothing because then YouTube gonna strike me. I want to just jam. I think I'm gonna get in that field of making doors. I'm not out there. Y'all, I love it. I love it. Where's my tape? Get you cleaned up, baby. Get you cleaned up. Get you cleaned up, baby. I did have a lint roller, actually. I did have a lint roller. Get my baby together. This baby together. Get that baby together. Oh, oh. Get that baby together. Oh, that baby together. What I gotta do is take a picture.
That's what I think it. At Oak Street Health, we're changing what it means to get older by changing healthcare for the better. In fact, we specialize in caring for older adults, so call today.
I need a cigarette break.
Social workers, adult support.
And of course, me, for doctor, I take a look at them. So I spend more time with the girl. She does.
What if they have medical questions late at night?
Or early in the morning. We do have a 24/7 patient support. Plus, we accept Medicare and can keep help you understand your plans benefits.
That's what I recommend. Gone are the days of doctors who only want to see you when you're sick. Oak Street Health focuses on keeping you healthy. Why settle for the old way of managing your health? Now that there's Oak Street Health. It's time for less red tape.
Better now. You can have all of your medical records and health history. So switching to Oak Street Health is easy. Heck no.
This dog means a lot to me. I don't know if it does not mean shit to you guys, but to me, yes. This is my Rick James. Though. I like it.
Oak Street Health.
I love it. Get there. Like one arm is bigger than the other. What? I know. I don't care. That's not the issue. That's funny though. There's some eyes out. I'm thinking, what kind of eyes this bitch need? Yeah, bleed, baby, bleed. Like, I really don't even want to put no eyes on you because you're so pretty. Backwards, dog. So the eyes would be right here. I'm so proud. Fuck. Eyes. Or I could take yes, bitch, you're beautiful.